post-processing video on Topaz Studios. I already have Topaz open, and I'm going to go back to my folder of images, and I'm going to drag in a picture that really was quite an amazing sight when I photographed it, but I knew it was going to be a challenge to post-process this. As you can, this is June Lake on the eastern side of the Sierras. It was a spectacular scene as you looked at it, because you have these wonderful aspens, all yellow and green. This was done in the fall during the colorful season there, against the granite of the eastern Sierras. It was actually raining when we started out that morning, and the sun was peeking through the clouds, and so you had this sort of dark, moody sky. And I wanted to make sure that I had enough exposure to capture the details in the shadows, but not too much exposure to overblow the highlights. And I think I knew that the raw file, which is what I have showing you right now, is not going to look that great, but I knew that we had the basic raw materials to make a really good photograph. And you can see in the histogram over here that there is no clipping of the shadows and there is no clipping of the highlights, and there's a lot of information, you know, towards the right, I'm sorry, towards the left side of the histogram, but we're going to be able to do a lot with this. Now, before I start the picture, some people like to use different views, and Topaz allows you to do that. If you want, you can actually set it up so there's like a before and after. I like seeing the whole screen. That's why I typically use that. And another thing that's really important to notice is that, you know, we're going to end up with a large string of adjustments here, and sometimes you go through these things and you go, you know, this isn't working. Now you can go through and sort of eliminate all of them, but there's under the edit menu, there's actually a reset all parameters, and you can just click on that and everything goes away. So it's a really nice little feature. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here? I mean, and that's the important thing. I want to make the sky dark and moody. I want to bring out those colors of those trees. I want to have lots of detail in the water. So there's a lot of things that I want to do on this. Now, I look closely at this thing, and I actually see something that I don't like on the water. And it's actually just a leaf, but it just sort of doesn't look that good. And I'm going to take the healing brush, and I'm just going to click on it, and you can see it disappears. Nice little tool to have. Okay, so that's done, and I can go back to the normal size of this and continue working on it. I could remove all these leaves here. There's lots of things you can do. I'm not going to crop right away here, because I'm not sure whether I want to keep this or not. I'm seeing the whole thing now. All right, so what's my plan here? My plan is I'm going to use adjustments. First thing I want to do is make the sky the sort of dark, foreboding sky that I saw there. And when I do that, I'm going to use the basic adjustment. I'm going to bring down the exposure. And I don't care what happens to the mountains and the lake here. I'm just looking at the sky. I want to make that dark. I might want to also decrease the shadow a bit, and I might want to also decrease the highlight, because I don't really need that kind of bright sun area there. All right. So now I got that. Now I got to create the mask. Okay. Now I could go with a brush and just, you know, brush this whole area, but they actually have a nice little gradient tool. Okay. And I'm going to as you can see there, the gradient actually will go just to the mountains, and it's a smart kind of thing. I just need to get it approximate, but you see it's the wrong way. It's concealing the effect and revealing it in the bottom, but I can just flip it with this, invert mask. And so now I got the sky the way I want it. Now I got to do a little bit of touch up. I got to take my brush, and I want to just, get rid of this area here, just so that I don't need to. What's really nice about this is that it recognizes the edges, and so you don't have to be really precise about it. So you look at that sky now, and that's much better than what it was. Now I'm okay with this. Remember, I can turn this on and off. See the difference there? I think it's really a cool difference. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to add some contrast to the whole image. Okay. So I'm going to take my tone curve, and I'm going to look at the preset because it's just a nice way, and I'm going to go to increase contrast. And that's okay. I like that. It's giving me some more contrast. I may want to take this up a bit, change it a little bit. All right, I'm okay with this at this point. Now, I really want to get to these trees here. First of all, I'm going to do a brightness and contrast, and I'm going to increase the saturation, and I'm going to increase the brightness a bit. I'm trying to get this to look more interesting. Okay. Now, again, I'm just looking at the area, what I'm interested in, because I'm going to mask everything else out. Okay. And I'm going to invert the mask, use my brush, and I'm just going to brush in that color and that increased. It would be nice if I took my white brush. Here, you're going to start to see it. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the overall brightness of this image because it just looks a little flat at this point still. I'm going to take a tone curve and let's just make it a little brighter. And by increasing the, see how the oranges and the greens just sort of start popping out. Now, clearly it's made the sky too light, but I like what it's doing down here in the water, and I particularly like what it's doing over there. So I just need to, put another gradient on this. And it's amazing how it just sort of goes back to where it knows what to do. And okay, and then I'm going to take the brush and I'm going to take some white paint and just make sure that I'm only getting the areas that I want here. Now sometimes I end up making changes that I later reverse, but I'm not sure at this point what I'm going to do, and I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so I'm really starting to like the way this is looking here, because I got this nice reflection, and the sky, it's a little too blue, and I may want to, Get rid of all these little extra things here. I may want to tone those blues down, but I can do that very simply. All right, so now I'm getting it's getting there. Now this blue area is bothering me, so I'm gonna go to that area right now. So let's take a basic adjustment and just I could do this one of two ways. I could decrease the saturation like to there. All right, and then I'm going to put a mask, invert it, and I'm just going to put the mask. Again, got to put the white. When you use a black mask, got to use white paint. And so, yeah. Now I'm good. I like that. That looks good. Okay. Again, let's look at before and after here, just so that people can see. You know, here's the way it was looking. Here's where we're going. Okay. Now, one of the things I want to do is make this area here stand out a little bit more, and I'm going to do that by increasing the contrast there. So again, I'm going to make a tonal adjustment, and what I'm going to do is put some contrast there. No, that's not working. There we go. Bring this down just a little bit. And again, before, after. All right, and now I'm going to put in I'm going to do a mask, and I'm going to invert the mask, take the brush, white paint, and make this kind of big a brush so I can brush it on pretty quickly. Okay, so you got a real nice feel of the water, and it also sort of accentuates the reflection of the trees. Now, there's one other thing that I want to do, and that is the mountains need to be a little bit more crisp, especially over here, or we need to do something to make this a little bit more contrasty. So I'm going to add yet another. I could try it with contrast, okay, and I'll show you how I do that, and it's not going to work. But let's try it. So here's this contrast curve, and just again look at that. Maybe it will work. Okay, I'm looking right over here, and that did add a bit of contrast. So let's just do that. But we don't want all this contrast over there. We just want it in this one area. So we're going to add a mask, make it a black mask, take my brush, take my white paint, and all I'm going to do is paint in this area here. All right? I like that. Make sure we get all that area here. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now, if I didn't like that stuff on the they say, well, you know, did I make the clouds too dark? I could go back in on this mask, take the white paint, the black paint, and make it a little smaller radius and a little not quite as soft, and just make sure that that went away. So I think we got a good effect there. All right. So now we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it looks okay except for this thing down here in the bottom. Now, the question is, do we just crop it out or do we change it? Now, I could add yet another tone curve, or even a brightness. It might just work with brightness. If I decrease the brightness, no, that's not going to work, see, because what happens is that the leaves that are there just make it stand out. So that's not going to work. So let's get rid of this. Let's try a tone curve. And with a tone curve, I could bring down the that's okay. Yeah, that might work. And then we just put a mask, make it black, take my white brush, and I black, white brush, and paint that effect in. Doesn't really look that good. It's too obvious. So let's get rid of that. That didn't work. Okay, so I think the only thing that we're going to be able to do is crop this. So I'm going to go back to my crop tool, and I'm going to just sort of bring this up. I'm going to bring this in a little bit, just so that I'm really looking at the, I've got this nice line through the center, and I think that works. Let's say done, and it takes a second to crop it. I'm still going to have to deal with this issue down here because I didn't get rid of it totally. So should we go to do some healing? And I think that's probably going to be the best way of dealing with this. I'm just going to click on these things and let's see. There we go. That's better because now when I add the vignette finally, that really makes it darker, and your eye doesn't see that. Now I would say that the vignette's a little strong, so there's actually a soft black one, and I may even make it a little less than that. Okay, so that's where I think we're pretty good at. So we've done quite a bit of work on this picture, and now as I look at it, I say, wait a minute, there's a problem here. Okay, and this sometimes happens when you get a lot of different layers. You start to see things that have happened. For example, that mountain suddenly is really black, and that blue that I thought we got rid of is back. So we've got to figure out what's going on here. So the way to do this is to go through and turn off and on the different layers. So let's turn has nothing to do with the vignette. Have anything to do with this little brightness layer? Yeah, that was part of it. Okay, so we need to open up this and I need to get some black paint here and paint over this so we get rid of that, yeah. And maybe this also. Though I don't think that's the whole thing there. Let's see. Okay, let's look at this one. Oh, that didn't do anything. Let's look at this one. Nope, that didn't do anything. This one. Yeah, there's a little something there. We need to open up this mask. Okay, so what we need to do here is get my brush, and I want to get some white paint, I think. Yeah, there we go. But I want some black paint over here. Yeah, and over here. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Whoops, that didn't work. Let's get Command Z gets rid of that. I need to go to white. There we go. Okay. Let's collapse that. I'm still looking for the blue thing. Nope, that didn't do it. That didn't do it. I know it's in this one. Yeah, there it is. So let's open that up. And let's just take the saturation down a little bit more. So remember, this is only affecting the sky. Okay. Very common that you have to go through and see the effect of everything. There's actually still something here that I want. It's up in this, I believe it's in this mask. Let's open that up. Yeah, you can see it right there. Let's take my brush, get some black paint, and let's just carefully. There we go. All right. Now, one of the things I like is the fact that it got some blue in the sky and a little bit of blue in the reflection, and that's nice. Okay, I think we are done here. So the final step, make sure you save your work. Save it with a different name than the original one. It goes back automatically to the folder that it came from. Say OK, and that is that for after.